Great to see you today. Happy Monday. Today, we're doing a special episode of Mindset Monday. We are actually in the middle of making a transition, moving away from our Monday, Wednesday, Friday routine. Pretty soon, we're going to be rolling out a daily drip called the Daily Live Well. And super excited about that. But today we're doing a special episode of Mindset Monday, and I want to just talk about the trends in mindset psychology. So over these last weeks and these last months, every Monday I've been showing up and sharing with you some helpful tool, some helpful framework when we think about mindset in a way that helps us see, perceive, and experiencing things in a more healthy, productive way. So today, we want to specifically, as I mentioned, we're gonna look at some of the trends that are coming in mindset psychology. So mindset psychology is more than just a buzzword. I think it's been a big word. It's got a lot of traction over these last few years. It's actually mindset psychology is the foundation for how we face challenges, for how we make decisions, for how we build the life we're called to live. So when I talked about trends in mindset psychology, today we're going to go over the top 5 trends. This has been think about this in 2024 and 2025. These are the parts of mindset and psychology that are pairing together that keep showing up over and over and over. And the data that we're is receiving in this field, the studies that are being conducted, the way it's being communicated, the way it's being taught. There's these great insights. And so rather than just picking one of them for today, I'm actually going to give you an overview of all 5 of them. And then I'm going to think about in the future how we might be able to actually dig a little bit deeper in each of them. So talk about these top 5. So the first one is there's this rise in process over outcome mindset. Now, you've probably heard Dr. Mike and I actually talk about this one because it's not only a trend, it's something we've embraced in the way that we have studied it, in the way that we see the data, the research, and even the way that we treat here in the clinic. So, this idea of process over outcome. So, here's how it works: people are shifting away from goal obsession to process orientation. So, rather than focusing on, I just got to get the right outcomes, right? I just got to be able to get to the finish line. No. It's really more about this idea of what's the process that moves us through it. It's thinking about the journey rather than just the destination. So it's really around this idea. Psychology shows us that this intrinsic motivation, it leads us to more healthy behavioral changes. Let me give you a couple examples of this idea, this process over outcome. One might be like focusing on becoming a more consistent writer rather than uh, publishing your next book. You catch that? The process over the product, or the process over the outcome. I'm just going to work diligently on becoming a more consistent writer. And then the outcome of that, well, the outcome might be I'm able to consistently write and be able to put that in form of what might become my next book, my next publication. So you get that? How it's different. It's kind of upside down from traditional thinking of, hey, I got to do whatever I got to do to get to that finish line, to produce that next book. Um, and then think in a way of I have to do A, B, and C to get equals, right, the outcome of D. Uh, when I go out and do teachings and trainings with Dr. Mike, I often hear him talk about sports psychology. That's one of the things that he's passionate about. And we often, when we're presenting, talk about the idea of how it shows up in professional sports. He loves basketball, so he talks about basketball and this idea of a basketball player who's at the free throw line, and rather than just staring at the basket and thinking and hoping, I hope it goes in, 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 and then take the shot and then stare at the basket and wait and wonder, is it going to go in, right? Which might be outcomes based, is something more about process based. All right, the process of in practice, in scrimmages, practicing and practicing and practicing. right? Being able to dribble the ball a certain number of times, hold it, the feel of it, glance down, look at the line, maybe glance up, look at the basket, and then the process of how that ball leaves your hands when you have a certain grip in a certain way in a certain stance, and then releasing the outcomes, allowing to be able to say, hey, the outcome is going to be whatever it is, but I've done my job, which is the process. All right, so taking this back to this idea of five trends in mindset psychology, I think there's great benefit, again, when we can shift from process over outcomes. It keeps us grounded. It keeps us connected to the things we can control, and allows us to release those things that are beyond and outside of our control, right? We can do our process and then release the outcomes. So think about it. Here's the second one. Mental flexibility is more important than mental toughness. So think about, or maybe this way, mental flexibility over mental toughness. Resilience is evolving. It's less about pushing through and it's more about adapting wisely. There's a traditional model that just says, suck it up, grind it out, try harder, push through it. But we're actually learning that there's benefit to this idea of mental flexibility, right? That's this idea that I just mentioned, resilience, right? It's about evolving. It's about learning and growing. Flexibility will help us pivot, reset, stay emotionally attuned, right? In the midst of whatever crisis or chaos we might be experiencing, rather than just being stoic and just trying to push through it. This is used frequently in trauma recovery, leadership development. I think in many ways we saw this play out in 2020 and 2021 when we went through COVID, right? Rather than just mental toughness of just keep your head down, grind it out, stay at it, do what you do. Right? There was this incredible shift in mindset around this idea of flexibility. We had to become very adaptive, right? We had to have new ideas, new strategies. We had to flex. We had to adjust. There was so much that happened in that season that we can actually attribute to this idea, the strengthening of mental flexibility. So the strongest mind aren't the ones that never bend, but the ones that learn how to bounce back. I love that statement. All right, let's go on to the third trend, and it's visualization with embodied practice. Okay, so visualization. It's been around for a long time in psychology, but it's starting to trend again. It's showing up again, but this time it's paired with embodied practice. So it's not maybe as abstract as we once used to talk about the idea of visualization. So it's now paired with somatic cues. Somatic is our bodies. So breath work, posture, movement, all of these things to ground what we see mentally. Right. So this idea of visualization with embodied practice. So athletes, entrepreneurs, even therapists, right? They're being trained or training people to feel successful, not just as they see it, right? But in the way that they might feel it. So here's a tip for you. So try this. Try visualizing your future while practicing slow, rhythmic breathing. Okay, so the pairing of visualization and embodied practice, right? One of these things that we're learning and growing, it's trending right now in mindset. Here's the fourth one, identity-based change. This is a huge shift over decades of what we knew as behavioral modification. Okay, so identity-based change. So this actually comes from neuroscience and behavioral science, and it kind of blends them together in a brilliant way. It says people stick with habits that match their self-image. People stick with habits that match their self-image. So instead of something like, I want to eat healthier, right? That's a thought, that's a behavior. It's switching it to an identity based, or this idea of like a belief. I'm someone who cares about my body. Okay, did you catch the first one? I want to eat healthier, right? That's a thought, right? And we can attach behaviors to it, or we can switch to this other, which is identity based rather than idea based. I'm someone who cares about my body. And so what we find with this identity based change is it's something deeper within us that, right, we're holding on to and we're embracing. When we go back to the idea of process over outcome, right? So the process is holding on to a belief construct, an identity base that says, again, I'm a person who cares about my body. So what do people do who care about their body? They eat healthier, right? You see how when we can change the belief system or the identity base, actually the thoughts, the ideas, and the actions and the behaviors, they're just going to naturally follow rather than us forcing them. And I rather become kind of mind over body, right? It starts with belief. Okay. So this trend, I love this. It tends and ties to, I think, is in our spiritual formation, right? This idea that who we are shapes what we do, right? Who we are shapes what we do. So think about it this way. Maybe here's a prompt for you. What identity are you living from? What's the mindset that may be keeping you in place? All right, here's the last of the 5 trends, which is I love this. There's another pairing together. It's mindset with the neural system regulation. So our neural system, we've talked about this many times in our challenges here on our Mindset Monday, Wellness Wednesday, even sometimes on our Faithful Friday. So there's this new research that shows the importance of integrating mental and psychological tools. So you can't shift your mindset if your body is stuck or fight in flight or freeze response. So mental reframing works better when it's paired with grounding tools. It's kind of similar to the idea of visualization in embodied practice, right? It takes two different things, it pairs them together, right? We can start to do some incredible mindset shifts when we are in a calmer state. All right, our nervous system, is relaxed and it's calm. I talked earlier about the breath work, the posture, the movement, the grounding, right? So when we have this mindset sort of meets nervous system regulation, it goes hand in hand. So let's maybe try it this way. Before you challenge your thoughts, it's really helpful. We're discovering that we can calm our body. All right, so let's just maybe for a moment talk about why these trends actually matter in our life. So these trends help us manage anxiety. They help us build healthy habits that actually stick. They embrace growth without burnout. They strengthen relationships by rewiring our reactivity. And it integrates, I love this, faith and mindset work more deeply. So I just want to give you a few practical tools before we wrap up for this episode. So how to apply these trending practices. So let's just walk through them simply. So the first one is this: practice mental flexibility. So that was one of the 5 trends, right? So ask yourself, what else might be true right now? There's possibility that, hey, maybe more than one thing is actually true right now, right? The thing that I've always thought in my go-to, right, might be the mental toughness part, but what if I could open it up, expand it, be more flexible? What else might be true right now? And it's this idea of reframing without forcing toxic positivity. Man, toxic positivity, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. But if we can reframe without forcing that, it's helpful. How about this? Pair your mindset work with your body work, right? The two trends we talked about with visualization and embodied practice, and mindset and nervous system regulation. So ground yourself with breath work, stretching, a short walk, maybe before you do journaling or you make big decisions. One of the things we do in the clinical office is we do what's called behavioral activation. Right, we get our heart rate moving. We might get somebody to walk. We even sometimes do it in a more structured way. People do yoga, or they might actually do a workout. And then based on that, right, the heart is pumping a little bit more, the adrenaline's going, we're kind of firing on all cylinders, right? When we're in that state, we actually do some really productive therapeutic work. All right, so how about this one? Choose identity-based habits. Speak into alignment what you are becoming. Like, I'm becoming someone who, and then fill in the blank. I think it's important with this that we write it down, we speak it out, like we make this a regular part of our routine. Choose identity-based habits. All right, and then from that trending list, we have use visualization and emotion. I think this is really important. And again, another pairing together. Don't just think success, feel it, right? Like create a mini habit or a mini routine around it, like posture, pace, tone. Those things are really, really helpful. And then how about this one? Focus on the next right step. Focus on the next right step rather than getting all caught up about what's 10 steps ahead and what I need to do to get there. Right? Just focus on the next right step. This is part of what I'm talking about, this idea of let's just focus on process rather than outcome. So detach from this outcome obsession. Ask, what's one step I can do today that reflects who I want to become? All right, so as we wrap up for today, again, those top 5 trending mindsets. I would love for you to, whether you want to tackle all 5 of them, if you want to focus in on one of them, would encourage, take a next step. In fact, I'm just going to go back for a second. I'm just going to review with us these 5. Remember, the first one was process over outcome. The second one was mental flexibility over mental toughness. The third one was visualization and embodied practice. The fourth one, identity-based change. And the fifth one, mindset meets nervous system regulation. All right, just start somewhere. Okay, think about it in this way. You don't need to chase every new trend, but it's helpful when you can stay curious about how your mindset is shaping your life. All right, would love to hear from you guys. Reach out to us. Let us know how it goes for you this week, right? As you embrace one of these mindsets, you're continuing the work that you've already started, you're trying something completely new. Have a great week, everyone.